So today we're going to be talking about a fairly complex topic, all things considered. And it involves none other, at least partially, tangentially, Lord Asmongold. But I do say tangentially because I think the crux of the matter has a lot less to do with Asmongold than many people claim or think. And so I'm not going to talk too much about all the intimate details of his case, as it were. So the fundamental question here is, should you ever apologize? And to contextualize that, the question is, should you ever apologize online? I'm not talking about some instance where you spill coffee on your brother's keyboard, and yeah, you probably should apologize in that instance. But rather, what happens online when you say certain things, make certain statements, and the discourse is against you? Should you apologize to your opponents, or should you stay the course and not say anything? Because fundamentally, there's a lot more to this to unpack than just, should you apologize, should you not? But to give you some context, not too long ago, Lord Asmongold, famous Twitch streamer, YouTube personality, etc., whom I like, I've said positive things about him in the past, made some statements about the so-called Israel-Palestine conflict in a certain manner that got him banned off of Twitch and really got the entirety of the internet in an uproar, so to speak, although primarily the left side of it. Now, I'm less than zero interested in the conflict in the Near East, so I'm not going to go into the details of what he said. It's not really relevant, but, technically he violated TOS of Twitch or what have you. And after that, he came out and made a pretty extensive apology publicly on YouTube, as well as a written one on Reddit. And people felt that he sort of violated his own axiom of never apologize to the other side. And as I said, there's a lot to unpack here, and it has a lot less to do with Asmongold than you think. Because what we're really dealing with here is something to do with the sociology, as it were, the fundamental dynamics of online discourse, online interaction, and just how people are online with each other. So the first thing you need to understand about online interaction discourse as a content creator of any sort, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube, is you're not really a person. And what do I mean by that? I don't mean literally you're not a person, but rather the world's perception of you is that of a fairly static image. You produce content, people get used to a certain type of content, and generally speaking, deviations from the content you've produced in the majority, the stuff that most of your subscribers or your followers tend to appreciate, will be viewed poorly. And so if you say things or make statements that run counter to that, or don't hit the nail on the head, they might get suspicious. They might not like what you have to say. And sometimes people don't even pay attention to what you're saying to begin with. That's how little personhood you have. Classic instance in my case, I know some of my subs who do pay attention have picked up on this. There are a lot of naysayers in my comment section when it comes to the ideas around evolutionary theory that flat out just don't believe in evolutionary theory. And they've been subbed to me for years despite that, even though everyone who knows me and has been around for a long time for my content knows that evolutionary theory is my bread and butter, and it pretty much infuses my entire worldview. Now, these people are more than welcome to stick around, even though I think that their views are completely wrong and fatuous, but one wonders why they're even subbed. You get those too. And I only mention that to illustrate just how non-person you are, essentially, as a content creator. People don't even listen to what you say half the time. Now, it's probably even worse, I'd imagine, if you're a really big content creator. I'm tiny, obviously. Because people establish a standard for you, they expect things from you, and when you, again, deviate from that expectation, you run into problems. And fundamentally, that's what this is about. In the context of Lord Asmongold, or really anyone, deviating from the expectations people have assigned to you, that you yourself have built up through a certain reputation. Now, whether or not their perceptions of you are justified in their totality, which is to say, they're interpreting your words correctly and what you've said, that's a little less clear at the end of the day, in my humble opinion. But the reality is that Lord Asmongold said on a number of occasions, never apologize to, quote-unquote, these people, the people on the other side. Where does this come from? Well, as I mentioned, not just as a content creator, but as somebody who posts on Twitter or what have you, which I don't really do, Both sides in the, I guess, so-called culture war, I hate the term, don't really view the other side as actually being human beings. And I don't mean that in a sort of wishy-washy way, but rather, when you're online posting stuff, all you are a bunch of words, text, this sort of thing. So the tendency to just look at what's being written or said, and then to dehumanize, for lack of a better word, the person writing that is very large indeed. And in this context, it's very important to realize there is no such thing as grace on the internet. And what do I mean by that? Grace is the ability, in this context, to show somebody charity, to think, well, maybe he did wrong, or maybe he thought he did wrong, and now he's apologizing. It's probably sincere. That doesn't exist. Every time, and this is why I largely agree with the original statement made by Lord Asmongold, every time somebody's apologized for some action that was perceived as wrong or unjust or immoral, whatever, the other side that opposes him digs in their heels and doubles down and then eviscerates them even more. What's the point? Like I said, this is not an interpersonal relationship between individuals. Like I said, you're not spilling coffee on your brother, or you didn't accidentally break some piece of property of your friend. It's very, very different. And in an ideal world where grace were a thing, and people from every walk of life and side were given an opportunity to experience grace in moments of change or shifting opinions or what have you, then yeah, it would be great to apologize if you sincerely think you're wrong. But usually what people do is, as I said, they dig in their heels, they double down, and they take advantage of what's seen as weakness, because apologies online and online discourse are seen as weakness. And this is related to another issue that I need to unpack, unfortunately. The problem of being online as any sort of content creator, especially as you grow in size, although I am microscopic compared to a giant such as Lord Asmongold, is that the expectation, A, is that you never veer from your course, that you stay on the path you've chosen originally. And when you do change your views, that's, as I said, met with a lot of skepticism, a lot of disgruntlement, dissatisfaction. And I'll be honest, I do not think the exact same way in late 2024 than I did in late 2012. The reality is, many of us undergo shifts in opinion, views. I learn new things. I try to integrate it into my head, and there you go. I don't have all the same views. Some of my views are the same, but not all of them. I think that's true of a lot of people. And the problem is, the online status game, which unfortunately everyone has to play to some degree, is such that it requires that you be essentially an unmovable object. It requires that you stay your ground, that you don't budge, and that you basically maintain your position regardless of whether it's wrong or right, because it's ultimately about sides. When you make an apology, in addition to the other side not showing you any charity or grace, concomitantly, you're also effectively to the public conceding weakness, because it's about sides, because it's about polarization and who wins a particular debate or not. When you make a public apology, then people are going to view that A as weakness and B as you losing. You've lost the other side. You've given them points. You've given them ammunition. You've given them fuel for the fire. And this is why this is such an intractable situation. Never mind the case of Lord Asmongold. Just in general, online discourse. It's never really about understanding things. It's about winning points for your side, about ego. Now, I don't think Lord Asmongold has a particularly big ego, and that's the point. One of the reasons why I do admire him. But a lot of content creators, most of them, have allowed themselves to develop rather inflated egos through their follower, subscriber count, through the money they make, etc., etc. And so you end up in an impossible situation. To quote the famous Rocky IV song by Robert Tepper, "There's no easy way out, there's no shortcut home." So what you end up in is a situation where you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And looking briefly at the Lord Asmongold situation, Had he not apologized, he might have disliked himself more, because I do think his apology was largely sincere. But people would have cited it for the rest of his life as an indication that he's an evil, whatever you want to call him. But he would have stayed on the good side of most of his followers, subscribers, acolytes, whatever. But he did apologize. And not only is the side that doesn't like him laughing about it and, again, showing no charity or grace, but his own followers are disappointed in him and think that he basically gave points away to the other side. You see, it's always about sides. It's always about winning. And that's why in this particular situation with online discourse, with online content creation, you are effectively, at the end of the day, damned if you do and damned if you don't. As I said, if you apologize, you're screwed. If you don't apologize, you're screwed. There's no easy way out. There's no shortcut home. And I think under such circumstances, the only option you do have is, I hate to say it, it sounds cheesy and rather maudlin, but be true to yourself. Do the thing that helps you be okay with yourself as an individual. Don't try to toe the line for the sake of it, in my humble opinion. I don't think that's a good move. But try to do the things, react the way, say the things you want to say in a way that makes you think, okay, I'm okay with that as an individual. And as far as I can tell, when it comes to Lord Asmongold, that's probably how he thought about it himself, if I had to guess, because he wasn't going to win this. There was nothing he could say that could satisfy all sides. And so he did what he thought was right. And since you can't really win, not ultimately, at least not online, that's probably the best decision he or anyone can make. Because as I said, being an online content producer of any sort really robs you of your personhood. You become an object, for better or worse, mostly for worse. I'm not complaining, I'm just saying that's just the way it is. A factual statement in my view. And you have to work with these cards that then you've been dealt. And yeah, be true to thyself. And in doing so, thou canst be false to no man, said Polonius once to his son Laertes. Anyways, as always, thank you for tuning in. Many special thanks to my patrons on Patreon, my donors on PayPal. You guys are the best. Without you, the channel simply could not exist, so much appreciated. And please hit the bell icon to be reminded of my videos. A lot of people don't even know I put out videos, even though they're subscribed. That's probably because they're not being notified, so please hit the bell icon. And the other YouTube jazz, as in leave a comment, share, subscribe, etc., etc. Much appreciated. Until the next time, I'm so loud. Check you out then. May the gods watch over you. Bye-bye for now. If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you enjoy my content, please consider making a donation or becoming a patron. Thanks for watching.